Got a few people already in here looking.
Oh yeah.
Boom.
Get my tablet out so I can check some
Chat.
The chat while everybody's getting in here.
That's the only bad thing about using this app. You got to have another device on your side to see chat.
Yeah, well, it's pretty easy in my house with all these youngins and devices. I can just thieve one if I need it.
There you go. Well, Mr. James Dockery, Junior
Right.
Proctor, Big Nasty.
Big Nasty in the house.
I see Chad in the house. Michael. Got quite a few. We'll let a few more come in here before we start this thing out, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so did you stay busy all day?
Man, it was a busy day, man. I had just a lot going on, and like I said, just juggling life sometimes is enough. But
oh yeah,
it's been a busy one. I slid in here about 40 minutes ago and wolfed down dinner, and you know, I won't fall asleep though. I promise.
Oh yeah, that's my problem. This is usually my bedtime, and you know, between here and 9, and some nights I get up here, I got a cup of coffee in my hand because I'm done down for the day. You know, my body's done said, all right, let's go lay down. And I'll be sitting here, all I can do to fight the yawns off.
Dude, I know if I eat, I'm done, man. I mean, done.
Yeah.
If I lay down, you can ask my wife. It don't take me but a few minutes and I'm out.
And I've been on that lawnmower all day, and it's looked like a big yellow cloud out here around the house, just pollen. Oh, it's bad. Man, we got a few in here. You got that many? You got 9 people. They'll come in here. They'll come dragging in here. Everybody started doing different things than what they normally do during their working times. And there's Chunky Cats and George Cunningham, Mr. Jason Lamb. Yeah. Got some good people. Yes, sir. I got his stuff ready for him. That's going out tomorrow. I'll show that a little bit later. Jawjacker 812 Palmetto. I tell you what, that night I was calling him Palomino. I could not say that right. People was texting me, sending me messages. I could not, to save my life, I could not say his name right. As much as I tried, I couldn't say it right for nothing.
There was another one too. What was it? There's about 3 different Kentucky ones, and those kept.
Oh yeah, we do have 3 different Kentuckys in here, and a lot of times if this chat gets to going so fast, and I'm trying to pay attention to what my guest is saying, and I'm trying to pay attention to what they're saying over in the chat, and if they ask a question and it gets gone, there's Mr. Joey Parker in the house. Well, buddy, let's go ahead and start this out right by saying God bless America. God bless each and every one of y'all and your families, and I hope everybody's staying safe and staying well. Keep your hands washed, people. That was the main thing. They still really don't know how this thing is even spreading. One day they say one thing, one day they say the next. So I guess you just need to act like you're walking in the middle of Walmart and everybody's got the freaking flu. But you. And you should be safe. There's PD in the house running late. Well, guys, we got Brian in here from Flint Hill Catfishing. Thank you for joining us tonight, Brian.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I know it was a little bit rushed getting you in here, but I'm glad you was able to work things out to come join us.
I'm glad I still got a job right now.
Yep. I'm glad you do too, my friend.
Yeah, man.
The good Lord's blessed a lot of us. There's a lot of us in here that still do work. Some of us is taking a little bit of a hit. There's Lyle in the house. Yeah, some of them took a pretty good hit. And I got a buddy of mine that he does flooring. That's what his whole family's done all their lives. And gun flooring. And he still as an essential, but nobody wants him in the house. Yeah. Because he's in other people's houses. And even though he does what he needs to be doing, because he wants to stay safe too, they still don't want to take that chance. So, you know, even if you are declared essential, some people are taking hits.
That's true.
Yeah, guys, talk them up. I'm glad you're coming in. If you don't mind, hit the like button and share. Let's start this out right.
Catfish Weekly.
Yes, sir. Mr. Lyle Stokes in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what really got you into chasing catfish? Let's not say monsters yet. That's another question. But just out fishing and catfishing, what really got you chasing the catfish?
It's kind of funny. When I first moved, I've only been in South Carolina for about 8 years. I'm sorry. And I found out that Catawba was this close, and I've always loved fishing. I grew up fishing, always grew up doing outdoor stuff, hunting, fishing, all that. So I went out on Catawba kayaking a few times because I used to be an avid whitewater kayaker in West Virginia. I mean, I went all the time, but the inherent risk with doing whitewater and having a whole bunch of kids didn't really suit my wife very well. So I backed off of that one. But anyway, went on to Catawba, and first couple times out, just catching some bass, brim, just seeing what's out there. Right. And I ran into a guy named Wesley Fail, which a lot of y'all know, Mr. Fail Fishing on YouTube. And I had caught a catfish that day. It was like 15 pounds on a plastic worm. And I'm like, man, this thing is huge. He's like, man, that ain't huge. I'm like, what? It's like, I didn't know they got that big. 15 pounds, where I'm from, mostly channel catfish when I grew up in North Carolina on the East Coast. So that's what originally got me into it. I said, I'm going to check this out and figure out how to catch these things. And I had no idea that, blue catfish got that big.
Yes. So your first one like that was on a rubber worm, was a blue catfish.
Yeah, just slow moving that thing on the bottom, and something hammered it. I was like, what is that?
Yep. Well, you seen the pictures I put up the other day. A buddy of mine and his girlfriend out on the boat, and them 3 fish was caught on artificials. And I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag right now is, guys, and I've seen some guys, they finding a few fish here and there. Everyone he's come from about 15 foot up and underneath docks. He's skipping lures up and underneath the docks. And he said as soon as they start dropping, they getting hammered. And then Blues is hitting, I think, a shaky worm, and another one was some kind of jig he was using.
Wow. Yeah, that was a big surprise, fishing from a kayak that day, and that big old thing hammered it. But I
couldn't imagine.
When I saw some of Wesley's pictures of some and some of his video, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. These things are humongous. So I've been doing this long. I mean, it's been close to 4 years max that I've even started, looking at targeting blue catfish. I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, you done good. You've used that 4 years very wisely, and you've learned some good holes. You found some good fish. You found fish that a lot of people might not ever catch a fish that size their whole life.
It's true.
Or even see one that size.
It's true. My buddy Dean, the older guy I fished with, he's 78. You probably seen him. He's a guy that caught that 70-pounder with me that day, and he's caught some big fish in his day. But he was saying the same thing. He's like, man, some people, 30, 40-pounder, that's a monster fish. And it still is to me. I mean, if you put one on the end of my line, I'll take it any day of the week because they don't come all the time.
There you go. I did for years. Wiley was my home lake. I loved that lake for bass, crappie. We had white bass back then, but all we had was channels.
Right.
And, I've got a 16-pound channel that come out of Wiley. Well, I mean, I don't have it now. It's back in the lake. But they come on 4-pound line and a little ultralight rod and reel with a little crappie jig.
That was a wrestling match, wasn't it?
Oh, that son was going to run me up and down that cotton picking bank for 15, 20 minutes, son. He'd take me almost to the knot, and I'd just have to run to try to gain line, It's hard to run on rip-rap rocks.
I guarantee you.
And then, I got into gold mining, so I spent about 16 years away from it. 16, 18 years. We bought a pontoon, and I went on YouTube. I seen Dieter. I seen Jeff. I seen them big cats. I said, holy moly, what was them cats at when I was hammering that lake?
Exactly. That's what got me. I saw some of Dieter's videos, New School, JR. Yeah. I saw, who else was it? I saw just lots, all the guys that are local here. I was trying to find out who was local and have, YouTube channels so I could watch some of their videos. I was astounded at how big some of the fish were here. I mean, I knew that South Carolina had some big ones, but I'd always heard about santee, stuff like that. But I mean, right here in my backyard, that made me kind of happy.
Oh, I'm sure it did. So, you know, your love of kayaking and then your love of catfishing kind of just made that's a great combination right there, really, for working the waters down there on the riverside.
It is. I'd say bank fishing, of course, is where most of us cut our teeth, unless your parents had a boat or something and you got out on that. But I've always loved bank fishing because it's very relaxing, and I can just sit there and hang out and just listen. I don't have to think, don't have to maneuver, don't know how to go to the next spot. I'm just there camping out, right? Putting in the time. But kayaking is, to me, I feel like it opens up a lot of doors to be able to fish a lot of places you normally wouldn't be able to get with a prop, unless you had a jet drive.
I mean, Palmetto, I'll have one probably the first 2 minutes that I fire up. I'll have 1 or 2 thumbs down. It don't matter. They're watching your stuff and giving you watch time. They can give you the thumbs down. It's going to happen. When it first started happening to me, it kind of upset me. But then, I watched Dieter and them the way they just diss it. Don't give them the time of day. So that's the best thing to do. When they see they can't get underneath your skin, usually they just drift off and they'll be gone for a while. Then somebody else will start up doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So my friend, don't worry about it. You good people, you put up good stuff. Don't worry about it. So what's your biggest on the kayak?
The biggest one out of the kayak was like 37, 38 pounds, right around there. And
that's blue.
It was, what's that?
Was it a blue?
Yeah, it was a blue catfish, and that was a hoot because I had 4 lines out, and he pulled me off anchor, and I was going down a rapid backwards, looking like a complete idiot. But it looks really cool in the pictures later, like you had it all together.
It made you look like you meant to do that.
Oh man, if you've seen all the video footage, then I didn't mean to. I barely got the fish landed.
I mean, I can't kayak. I can't sit in them. I can't. I can't sit in that position. But does it not feel kind of awkward either bringing the fish into the kayak or releasing it? Does it not make you feel kind of awkward or off center?
No. Again, my experience, I was an advanced level whitewater paddler, so I already was very comfortable in a kayak. But I always tell people that are starting out, I'm like, man, you ever watch those videos where people are hooking a 8-foot shark? You don't want to be holding a rod, have your drag locked down.
No.
If you get onto a shark, or you're going swimming, if you hang onto the rod, or people that put those harnesses on and they're not tied off to the boat, they gone, man. If that rod's hooked in, and just setting your drag right and everything, it's just I think it's exciting personally. Some people probably wouldn't like it, but when that thing hits it, you feel it in the whole kayak. It's amazing.
Well, I bet so. I mean, it's yeah, you're right. You're gonna have to have your drag set so he can't put that extra little pull that you can deal with him off the bank or off a boat. Yeah. James Docker wants to know what kind of kayak you were using.
Well, it's funny, James. I got I have a video on my channel of my Perception Swifty that I started out as. Somebody gave it to me probably about 3 years ago, and I started fishing out of that. Man, that thing looked like Inspector Gadget, man. I clamped Scotty rod holders all over that thing. They should have sent me free stuff, man. The whole thing, the bait tray, 4 rod holders. I had a 5th one for perch rod. I had it all set up. And I'm 225 pounds and 6'4". That's a whole lot of fat man in a little boat, brother. And I was sitting in that thing low, but it was a Perception Swifty. But that thing I got rid of, it's like 9 foot long, and I fished out of it long enough. And I ended up getting it's actually sitting over here in front of me. It's a Ascend 128T. Cabela's puts them out, Bass Pro Shops, and I really like it, but it wouldn't take much to please me after being in a 9-foot kayak crammed all in there. It's a sit on top. I got a nicer chair. That thing was misery to fish in, but I caught a lot of fish in it.
Ones that's got the chair made into it, the old plastic ones.
Oh yeah, you just sit down, your legs are in front of you down there. It was oh my god.
A buddy of mine brought one down there to the river where we gold mine at, to try to get back and forth across the water, because they ain't nothing but big boulders. 1 minute you're in 4 foot of water, next minute you're in 4 inches of water, up and down. Yeah. So it wore you out just walking back and forth across the water. He thought, well, we'll bring that kayak. I climbed up and that thing wasn't in it 2 minutes, and I went numb from the waist down and just rolled out of it. Said, oh, the heck is this, man. I'll just fight. Dang.
It'll put
got a legend in here tonight. We got Mr. Strawberry in here with us tonight.
Strawberry. I watched the last show with him on there. He was a hoot.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of great information. Man's been putting big fish in the boat for a long time.
Well, he's going to answer my question about, I was wondering how long the Blues had been here. And y'all got on that topic. And I was wondering the same thing in the river. And that was good.
That's a good man to ask anything like that. He's a book of knowledge, that's for sure. Well, tell us what kind of daggum rods and reels you throwing.
Well, I got a mixed bag, man. A lot of people go out and they'll buy all the same rod and reel, and I wanted to try some different ones because again, I hadn't done a lot of catfishing. And,
right.
I did what everybody else did. Got a Abu Garcia 6500 C3 and put it on an ugly stick for my first one, and it worked great. So I had a 8-foot medium light ugly stick, and I use that one mostly for pulling planer boards when I'm fishing with my buddy Dean on the lake. But it's a great bank rod too because you can hurl something out there pretty far. But ugly sticks are what I started out with, and then I started using some different reels. I saw some of Dieter's Ancient Mariner reviews on some of those, and for the price point, they really are good performing reels. I got 2 of those, and I put those on some of my ugly sticks. I have like the Elite ugly stick. There's all these different kinds now, and hardly any of them are the same as they used to be back in the 80s and 90s. But the Catfish Fever rod, I got Abu Garcia 7000 on that one. So I kind of mix and match my reels and rods. I don't have one thing I have sworn allegiance to. I like the 6500 C3s and the 5600s and all that stuff because I can work on them. I can actually put them on my workbench, and I can order the parts, and I can fix them myself. Yep. And some of them I
got 6000 6500s. I love them. I mean, most of mine come out of pawn shops. Now, I did buy the rockets specifically because I wanted the blue rockets on them red, white, and blue rods I got from Burke.
Oh, yeah.
But it's all right, Kevin, we'll do that in a little bit. Palmetto Cat said he wants to give a shirt away if we hit 30 likes, 30 thumbs up on the show tonight. So we'll check and see how many we got here. Well, y'all have to tell me because I can't check it. Then we'll do that. We'll do that. So, I mean, what size line you're running on them reels?
All of them, all of mine except for the 7000. All my 6500s and the 5600 that I have, I run 25-pound main line on it. And I use the 50-pound leader. Usually Carolina rig is what I fish with, Santee rig, or variations of that. Mono
or braid? They're going to ask.
Yeah, man. I started with mono. This is gonna sound really stupid, but I mean with mono, and I went to braid. And it sounds dumb. Maybe some of y'all feel the same way, but I couldn't stand the way it sounded when I was reeling. It drove me crazy, man.
Like I got it on one reel, and it drives me freaking nuts.
And it works well in a kayak using braid because, the kayak already has a lot of give itself and the rod. So it's just works great. But, man, you get hung up with that stuff. It's tough. But I stick with mono.
Paddle over to it and cut it. Basically, what you just about got to do.
Yep.
I mean, that's the same way. I use that the mono Andy. And that stuff, it breaks at just about what poundage it says. And it don't have a lot of stretch. That's why I like it.
Right.
Because it's kind of a combination of the braid and the mono as far as the stretch of it. Now, I'll use the big game as my leader line because I like that stretch on my leader. I like a little more give on there. But, switch to Monster Andy. That's what Palmetto said.
I want to try that, Palmetto. I've seen different reviews from many of you guys about Andy. And, I'm just like in a hurry. Usually I'm like trying big game, Walmart, grab it and go out. But I hear a lot of talk about the Andy line. And, my 7000, you asked about size too. I put 40-pound main line on that, and the 80-pound leader generally is what I go with. But yeah, I usually use Trilene big game. But I mean, I've tried different lines. I just stick with it because that's easy for me to find.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and it's stout. It seems like to me that they changed something on it. It's got so much memory now that drives me nuts. When I pull my leader, when I pull my line out from my leader, I snatch it a couple good times to get it to straighten out, or run it, or set it in you can set it in a sink full of hot water for a little bit, and it takes a lot of that memory out. But once it's set on your reel for a week or two, it's right back.
Yeah,
that's some techniques.
Gotcha.
Maurice is there. So when you're out there on that river, you're gonna have to get some guys say, I don't river fish. I love it down there. I've been down there many a time, and I want to go gold mining down there for one thing, but I wouldn't even know where to start looking. I know you kind of limited as far as bank fishing is where you go, and I'm not asking specifics.
Sure.
I'm asking what you look for going when you first started fishing that river. What made you say, I want to fish here or I want to fish there?
Right. Well, I fish anywhere from the dam below Lake Wiley all the way to Route 9 at different places, and depending on what time of year it is and stuff. But I'd say the main thing I'm looking for on the river is, I look for bends with deep holes in them a lot of times. And I also fish with sonar on my kayak. That's another thing I had on that little 9-foot Swifty that made it look that much more dorky. But I can tell what's on the bottom, see what the river looks like. But a lot of features on top, I look for if it's going to go over a big ledge, into a rapid. A lot of times that water slows down right in front of those, and that's a good flathead. Or the blues are prowling through there looking for bait. Also big bends and larger rivers, or even some places on the Catawba, when that water comes around, it'll have a recirculating eddy on the outside bend, because that main channel is really sticking to the inside. Not on all rivers, but in a lot of places on the Catawba. And that recirculating eddy is just like, a food conveyor belt. Sometimes just bringing stuff up right to the fish, and they don't have to go getting all that current if they don't have to. So those are some of the things I look at. And other features, pilings, things that people fish a lot, bridge pilings,
right,
and things like that. Some kind of structure that would hold fish.
That's one thing about the Catawba down there. I've heard that guy the other night on Catfish Weekly, Hood Catfish, talking about that river he's in is a constant. It's almost constant for miles, the same depth. Wow. You don't have that on the Catawba, and mainly because it's so rocky down through there.
Yeah,
it's wearing down the bedrock.
It really is. Some parts of it, I mean, there's some parts further down, get down past the pump house and stuff like that, the restaurant, the pump house, river walk or whatever, and it's sand. There's a lot of sandy stretches in there, mussels and stuff, but you go through different parts over just deep holes and then ledges, and just over and over again. That's the pattern on that river.
Okay. Well, guys, that's some good information for you to use. Do you use the catfish bobbers? Do you use any type of bobber fishing on that water?
I have tried it, and honestly, the current where I'm fishing is generally so fast that it's a real pain to find the right combination of my weight to keep the bait where I want it in the water column. And I have a little bit of trouble with that sometimes, not sinking the bobber, but having enough to hold it down, having enough to keep it where I want it.
I mean, like that back eddy you was talking about, it's a good place to do that, because you throw it out there and it bring it right back up into there.
Yeah, that would be a good place to do it. Sometimes when I'm fishing with 4 rods too, I guess it would all depend on what I'm doing. Because if I throw that thing out and it's recirculating the eddy, it's gonna come back through my lines and stuff, and it's coming back. But you're right, that would be a great place if the depth was right, where you wanted to fish.
That might be one of them places that'd be a good 2-rod area. Put one on the float and one on the bottom.
Yep, that's true.
And then you just let that float just set over there and swirl around and around in there. Sooner or later, I think you're gonna get your feelings hurt.
That's true.
Somebody wanted to know where you was from. Oh, Palmetto said he didn't hear where you said you was originally from.
Oh yeah, thanks, Palmetto. I'm originally from northeastern North Carolina. If you know where Elizabeth City is, I live closer to a small town called Hertford near Elizabeth City. And then if I told you where I really live, that's east of that, you wouldn't even know. It's not on. That's just a really small rural town in northeastern North Carolina, about 45 miles out from the Outer Banks.
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That is very interesting.
I'm a mutt though. I've been all over. I lived in Maryland for a long time, and I was in Kansas City, Missouri for about 5-6 years too. So my dad says I'm a traitor because I lost my accent, but whatever.
So, well, I'm glad you come out. I'm glad you got into the catfishing on the river and showing us, because I would have never thought, and I don't know why, that a river like that would hold that size of catfish. Even though the bait's there, it's amazed me at some of the casts that you have posted up on your videos.
It's mind blowing how big some of the fish are in there, and I'd say, was it 3 years ago? I've caught quite a few that were over 50 out of there, and I put a bunch of those back 3 years ago, and I've caught more since then. And my question's been, where are they growing? Where's the ones I put back? I'd love to hook one of them again, at 70 or 80 pounds or something. They're either growing or they died, and the ones I put back were healthy. And that one Dean caught really was encouraging to me, because I haven't seen any over 50. That 50 to 53 pounds, some of the biggest ones that I've caught out of there, and I've got several, but they're just. I was wondering where the real big ones were and how big they actually get in the Catawba. You
need to go ahead and order you a tagging kit and start tagging them fish.
You're right. That's a really good idea.
So if you do catch one, you're going to say, I caught that one last year. Then you go back and pull out your journal. You run your numbers and see where you caught it and when you caught it. And then you might be able to start setting up seasonal patterns in.
That's a really good idea. I should do that for sure.
Yeah, because that's me and Wampus Cat, we getting us a daggum tagging kit, and we're going to start tagging all of our fish that's over, say, 30 pounds.
I'm going to do that. That's a good idea, man.
Especially down on the river, get with Big Nasty and a couple other guys that that fish in waters. And, say if you catch one with a tag, call me and let me know what the number is. It might be my fish. Have you caught any down there that's got tags in them?
I caught one flathead down there that had a tag, and it was only about a 10-pounder, but he had a tag. When those yellow little things sticking out of his. I didn't know what it was when I first saw it. I was like, "What in the world?"
Dang. Oh, somebody asked him what the boat ramp is. I said, nah, he ain't giving that kind of stuff away. 3 to 4 inches of snow, 3 to 5 inches of snow in Illinois. Shoo, you can have that.
That's a lot of snow. I don't want no snow right now.
It's snowing in daggum up there with Justin Fishing Fetish. Y'all guys keep that stuff up there with you.
It's cold, man. The good thing about a kayak too.
Say what?
The thing about a kayak is I don't need a boat ramp. I can slide that thing down just about anywhere. So there's I'll leave it at that, but I can get in a lot of places. Getting out can be a little hairier, but
there you go.
Don't nobody feel like dragging nothing at the end of a fishing trip.
That's it in a nutshell. You go out, have a good day. You got all the energy getting it in the water, but at the end of the day, you thought, I got a mile to go.
That's it,
I'm in dry land. I got a mile to go.
That's it. I got to pick it up and put it on the car.
I used to do that daggum bank fishing. Oh, we'd load up, carry all of our gear and everything, chairs and everything. Nah, not no more. I carry only what I need.
I guarantee you. I go kind of light too.
Yeah, we used to go down there and fish at the hot hole, and everybody would be down here at the other end. We'd part way up the top and then walk all the way to the back side of the plant.
Right.
And it's all downhill, so it's nice and cozy going down. And then you got to come back, and it's all uphill.
Nothing but pain.
Nothing but pain. What hooks you using, buddy?
I use I just been sticking with the Gamakatsu 8/0. That's the standard size I generally use, the circle hooks. And I've been using a lot of 10/0 in the wintertime and spring, just because I can get bigger baits on them, still have a lot of hook hanging out. But I don't like using them in the summer, because if you catch a small fish, it almost always will get them in the eye it'll hook through the side and it'll end up putting their eye out. And you can't avoid it sometimes, but I don't catch the numbers of big fish in the summer, so I usually use the 7, 8 all hooks.
Well, I've seen quite a few fish and some big channels being brought in the past day or so, and they're getting dark.
Oh yeah,
blues in the channels are getting real dark, starting to get swole up. So, well, I think we're going to have us an early spawn this year.
I hear you. I got a question for you. If for you and everybody else in chat, I've caught at least 2 that were almost, jet black blue catfish out of the river. And Dean, my buddy, he caught one day too. I got a couple pictures of him. Has anybody caught any cat? Or is that some kind of hybrid or something? They look.
When did you catch it?
What's that?
When did you catch it?
Wintertime. I caught one in the summer one time though.
Now, summertime, that would explain it, because when they start getting into the spawn, especially the big males, they will get all swollen up. They look like Mike Tyson after somebody done fought Mike Tyson, all swole up. They'll turn real dark. Them channel cats will get almost black. And the blues will too. The big males will. But catching one in the wintertime, I don't know.
I don't either. Never seen one like it. I was just curious. I'd never seen one that dark, and he was literally black. He still had a grayish white stomach, but he was literally black.
Yeah, because usually when their hormones kick up is when they start turning.
I hear you. I'm gonna grab my cable while you're looking.
You fine?
Charging cable back here.
Okay. Well, while you doing that, I'm gonna show y'all a little something. Wife ordered some of these guys, and I'm gonna carry them with me on the boat when I go fishing at night. It's a light bulb. Let me find the camera. I always have trouble finding that camera. See that light? It's an LED light, but it's an emergency LED light. You got a lamp at the house that's only got like a single switch on it. You screw that in there. And if they call it for real bad storms or something, you think you're worried about power going out, turn this light on. And as soon as the power goes out, this light comes on. No power. But now you can't have a 3-way switch in there. For some reason, it won't work with a 3-way switch. It don't recognize it losing power. But what's wild about this, it comes with that rascal right there. And this thing will stay charged it'll stay lit constant for about 6 hours. But what I like about it is that you can take it out and you can turn it on. And it'll last for about 5 or 6 hours without no power source.
How about that?
It's made by Boundary LED emergency bulbs. And we got a couple lamps that's got the single switches in there. So I put them in there, and they stay charged up. At night, that's the lamps that we use to make sure they stay charged. But, hey, that's a lot of light on the daggum boat.
So is.
I don't know how many luminous it's supposed to be, but I think it's supposed to be like a 30-watt, 35-watt bulb.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty cool. Yep. So let's go ahead and draw a name for Palmetto to send out a shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And Justin Fishing Fetish.
There you go.
Justin Fishing Fetish. Get a hold of Mr. Palmetto, and he will send you a shirt on the way. Thank you, Justin. Justin's been a big supporter of this show since day one, man. He's come in when my live shows was long and drug out there on the boat and just having 2-hour lives. Justin was in there the whole time. He was in there one day. I couldn't catch a fish. I done made 2 trips, one up the lake and one down the lake. And he said, let it roll. So I took them a boat ride with me live. They stayed in the whole time. And the last place I got, put out 2 rods and turned around, getting there, grab another rod. I heard a big splash. Oh, that sounded weird. I said, that's close to the boat. And I turned around and looked, and my rod was dancing. There's a big old gar that grabbed a hold of that bait, and it was live. It was a big gar, probably about 4 foot long. It's a big gar. Didn't get no catfish that day, but Justin, I thank you, buddy, for coming in and supporting the show, and get a hold of Mr. Palmetto Cats, and he'll get you a shirt on the way. Thank you. And we're going to start doing some more giveaways and stuff. I'm just, we get through all this and trying to get stuff figured out. And guys, I'm so covered up, it's hard for me to stay on top. But I do have 25 of the Patriot Cat bobbers made. The green. I'm getting ready to start the blues tomorrow. Ashley Backwoods, you see, it's got a green light, green bobbers. I'm making the blue ones. It's a little bit tricky, guys, making them that these lights go on. It ended up taking me longer to make one than I thought. I've got a lot of individual pieces to make. Got the sinker slides on there, and while I have people in here, and you see it swivels, it's got the little small sinker slides. With these sinker slides right here on this type of bobber, the only thing that you need to add to your rod is an extra bobber, is a bobber stop and one extra bead, and this little bitty black piece. Don't leave the whole sinker slide on there because you can't take it off the bobber. You just take the little black piece and you leave that on your rod with just your other rig. So you can change it out, take the bobber off, and then you can add weight to it. You just have to have a clip to add your weight. This way you don't have that big, long metal piece hanging from this on your line all the time, like the other bobbers. You have to have the whole sinker slide. This way I've done away with that. So the only thing you got to have is this little piece right here. And I was run out of these because nobody's got them right now. For some reason, everybody's buying all the sinker slides up. DIY, guys. As an old eagle claw, hasp and swivel. Well, guess what? I had some tubing. I just squeezed that tubing in there, shot a little super glue on there, and crimped it down. I made my own daggone sinker slides. Pretty easy. All right, let's get back to the real show, my friend. So,
how much you say those bulbs were? Those light bulbs?
Oh, the light bulbs, I don't have a clue what they go for. Wife bought a whole case of them for us. For me, us, and her mama. I don't have a clue what they go for, but they made by Boundary. They worth it, man. I don't know. They ain't worth it.
I hear you.
So, Wiley, now you're going to do a little lake fishing, and I see you do your kayaking on the lake too. Where do you even start kayak fishing? I mean, what makes you say, I know you use your electronics a lot. Do you study the navionics before you go fishing?
Yeah, if it wasn't for that, I think I'd be doing a whole lot more paddling around looking at the depth finder than I needed to. Definitely is super helpful using navionics and just finding main river channel and the steep ledges and where the flats are, and it's just but going with somebody with experience, that's probably the thing that helps me the most. And Dean, who I fished with quite a bit, he's fished on the lake for years, and he's just a great resource.
And that helps. And I mean, that's and a lot comes on here on YouTube too. We can learn a lot from certain lakes. Yeah. You look at who fishes them lakes, and they give out. A lot of times they don't realize the information they are giving us.
Yeah, it's true.
When they say, well, it's hot and about 85 degrees today and it's humid as crap and and all this, they don't realize that's information. If we pay attention to what they're saying, that is good information to write down on a calendar. All right, yeah. I can't fish today, but Dieter was out there fishing. He was down around the South Fork. It was 80 degrees outside. You can look, and even if you want to look at the moon phase, you can do that on your own if you want to add that information in. So YouTube has helped out a whole lot, and you just have to pay attention to the little details.
It's true, man. And talking about lake fishing, I kind of suck at lake fishing. I mean, I'm getting better at it, but I mean, it takes it's a different kind of angling and experience level when you're going out in a larger body of water. And you're trying to locate fish, and you know, it's just I've had some okay luck out there, but I mean it's bigger. You're in a kayak. I can't cover as much ground, so
Right.
I usually just pick out a certain area that I'm going to fish. Or I get too ambitious, and like we said earlier, I'm paddling way further back than what I intended on paddling. But I just pick a certain area and I just try to fish it good when I go. And I mean I've caught some nice fish out of Wiley. I think 33-pound blue I caught out of there one time. That was out of the kayak. That was pretty nice, but yeah, not as much luck as I have on the river, just because it's a bigger body of water, and you know, takes a little more skill set experience.
And you about pattern how that river's working as far as cats. You just about patterned that.
I do, and I know you know, you were asking earlier about, you know, where to start fishing on the river. If there's people that want to start fishing on a river, you know, I always, you know, that dam. No matter, I mean, you can't fish up near the dam. If I could fish on it, I would be right underneath of it, because there's probably some ginormous fish that just hang there waiting for shad to get washed down. But I think that if you can find, just like on the lake, if you can find their food source, and you find they're feeding on shad near the warmest water, and that warmest water is generally going to be coming out of that dam, and the deeper holes downstream from it. As you keep going down the river, that water collects in there. The shad are in there, and they're eating them. And they travel a lot up and down there. And that's a lot of what I do. And I say it in some of my videos. I'll park on a bank or in my kayak. I mean, I'll move some if I don't see any action, but if I'm on the bank, I'll park, and you know, your day's going to come. If you're putting good bait out and you're using good gear that you can get him to the shore on, as long as you don't hang on something to snag or break it off, like I've done several videos, which happens bank fishing, you're going to catch you're going to catch a nice fish eventually. It just takes time.
And then blues move a lot, so eventually there's going to be one come by your area, and you're going to hook up on him. So
that's right.
I think it was Palmetto. Somebody was wanting to know, do you do any other kind of fishing?
Mostly these days I do. I just fish for bait. I love pan fishing though. I love fishing for brim with a 7-foot light action rod and a little teeny reel on there. I mean, with 2-pound test, that's one of my favorite things to do. So I have fun even when I'm catching bait. And my old buddy Dean, he banned me from using 2-pound tests on his boat ever again, because it just, you can't get, if you catch a town catfish, you can't get him in fast enough, and he tangles up every single rod you got out.
Oh yeah.
He's like, "Will you get that sewing thread off of my boat? You're killing me." So, but I really enjoy even late season when it starts to get cool and the brim stop biting. I like getting out in deeper water and just trying to make them bite. To me, it's fun. I think if a bluegill weighed 10 pounds, he'd be bad to the bone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's a mean fish, man.
Yeah, I've got quite a few farm ponds. I can't get in no more. I wish we could, but it wasn't nothing to catch 1 2-pound big bull blue heads. That's why we call them old blue heads. It's bluegill, but them old big son of a guns, man. That's like we'd cook them whole. People say you got to fillet them. I ain't filleting and wasting all that meat. We cut them slices in them like a flounder and throw them in the grease.
That's what my mama did to them.
Oh yeah. Let's see. People still talking about snow. Y'all can have all that freaking snow.
I do miss it at Christmas.
When's your next fishing trip?
My next fishing trip, hopefully Friday. I'm planning on going out. I did go yesterday, and I caught 1 crappie and about 6 or 7 brim, and that was it, man. And I went to Wiley again. My lack of experience on the lake and just having to run around, it's like fishing unknown water up in the North Carolina end of Wiley. I fish down here on the South Carolina end because I'm from Rock Hill. But I went up to South Point Landing, dropped in there, paddled about 1.5 miles downstream, and I mean, it looked great. The structure looked great. I couldn't find a fish. Couldn't find no bait, couldn't find no shad, so I parked in the shade up against the bank and threw some lines out and brimfish for a while till it was cool enough to paddle back. But yeah, no video on that one.
Palmetto wants to know what days you usually release your videos.
I usually put them out on Fridays from the previous Friday if I can. I try to keep one ready to be uploaded. So Fridays if I can. That's what I try to stick with.
I'm slack, guys. I ain't put out nothing. I couldn't tell you when. I just covered up, guys, with homework, and all I can do is apologize. I started to make another one on how I make these bobbers, and I said, nah, I might wait on that. I done put 2 out. So, but anyway, keep putting them out there, buddy.
Sometimes you can get away with, a video going down the river if you only catch, one fish or something. If it's fun, something's beautiful about it. But I'm not too good at just making up something and putting on a video. So I don't think people would enjoy that. So I don't put out skunk videos generally.
If I leave the house with a plan that I'm going to make a video about this and this is how I'm going to do it, oh, you can forget that.
That's it.
I ain't made it 5 minutes down the road and something done changed the whole cotton picker world around. And it ain't going to work out just right for that.
It's the truth. It's the truth. Every time my wife calls me, my wife calls me, that's when I get a fish.
Really?
Yeah, just seeing it, or eating a sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, running late fishing mean you got to get up. I still got your stuff. It's in the truck. I'm just waiting on the phone call to meet you, my friend. Got a full bait tape, blue grills. Now, that was the next thing I was going to ask you about was baits. Is mainly what you use down there is shad on the river section?
I'm kind of like all y'all. I like to have variety when I can. I find in the river, like bluegill generally works best in summertime. Any kind of brim, the panfish, and they're abundant in the river, especially if you get away from some of the boat ramps and stuff and go fish, down upstream a little ways, where there's not a lot of people fishing, there's not much pressure. They're just easy to come by. But I do use gizzard shad, and I have used some herring from time to time, and that's worked good. And threadfin shad as well. But white perch, I'd say white perch are probably my favorite bait on the river. And I was actually skeptical the first time I used it. A friend of mine told me, he's like, "Hey, use this. I got a bunch of them." I took it. I was like, I'm not going to use that. And sure enough, it's been probably my number one winter bait on out there on the river. I mean, I've used shad. I catch stuff on shad, but perch is just a winner. Just seems to do the trick.
Justin Fetish is asking about bullheads.
Bullheads.
I don't think our waters work too good with the bullheads. I know some people that's tried them quite a few times on quite a few lakes around here. They're very lively. They bleed, but our lakes hadn't had them little bullheads in them in a lot of years.
Yeah, I've never used them. I could see why they would be effective because they from a lot of the videos I've watched, they're super hardy. And you hook them and throw them down there. Like you said, they bleed and they'll keep going for a while. But I don't know. I think a lot of times I'm just, at least now, I'm of the opinion that what's abundant is a lot of times what they're eating. But that can be threadfin shad in the river, and because I've seen enormous schools of threadfin shad in the river. I got a video on my YouTube channel where a huge school of shad came underneath the boat. I could see them on the sonar and blacked it out. I mean, it was gone. Nothing but shad. I knew I was going to get bit in a 6.5 pound bass. Hit one of our cut baits, not too much later, and it was a bluegill head. But the bluegill and stuff are plentiful at different times too. So that's why I like to have variety. They might be picky.
Well, that's kind of what I look at. Is that whatever I go on usually what's spawning, and because I love shallow water fishing, and if something's on the bank, you got your bet. You just about bet your money there's going to be some blues and some flatheads and some of them big old black channel cats, because them big black channel cats love some brim. Them rascals right there will kill a pea out of a daggum live brim.
They will. They
will slam a live brim.
You asked earlier too. Who was it would ask about what other kind of fishing I did? I forgot who.
That was Palmetto.
Yeah, Palmetto, I also fly fish a lot. I enjoy that, which is kind of a strange combination with catfishing, I guess. But I love fly fishing, and I love fly fishing for panfish. It's a blast, but mostly because I also catch bait when I'm doing it for catfishing. But
Yes.
I enjoy fly fishing a lot, and I can't take anything else with me. I can't bring my cat rods with me when I'm fly fishing. You're kind of converted to fly fishing to do that, but that's pretty fun.
Yeah. There's a guy supposedly up here on Moss Lake that actually takes people fly fishing for carp.
Really?
Now, I couldn't imagine catching old buffalo carp or something on a daggum fly rod. That would be
I can't in. Big Nasty caught. I know there's huge ones in that river, but I've never caught a big carp like that. I've caught a 1 pound one, something like that one time, just by leaving my bait on the bottom too long with a gulp minnow while I was scratching my head or something. But that one Big Nasty caught the other day when we went fishing. I was like, man, look at the size of that thing. If you hook that on a fly rod, 5-weight fly rod, you'd be in for a little bit of a trip there, buddy.
Especially in the current down there in the river section.
You ain't kidding. Kidding.
I mean, now you're using circle hooks in that river section. You're pretty much letting them catfish load that rod down before you grab a hold of it, ain't you?
Yeah, I do understand. That seems to be effective. I haven't had any problems with it. I do miss fish sometimes if you're drifting. I think you can miss fish sometimes with circle hooks down on the river. I don't know why. I can't prove it, but I think when you're drifting, a lot of the flatheads also will come out of their little haunts and come up to hammer something. But they'll usually grab it like they normally bite. They don't just slam it like a blue, and they'll try to take it back to wherever they were hiding sometimes before they eat it. This is all my theory. I'm not saying it's true, but I think if I had a J hook and I could throw it on him with that, I think it would work better. I'm planning on trying that this summer a little more, using a different kind of hook.
Spencer, that's what he uses is the daggone J hooks when he's chasing them flatheads in them rivers up there. He said he swings for the fences and parts their daggum hair, buddy. When he
he's the guy I was watching. He's one of the guys I was watching that kind of got me thinking about that because I didn't really know I was missing fish. I thought the fish missed me.
Right.
They didn't hit the bait right. But a lot of times I think maybe I am missing them on that river because of the structure of the bottom, the current. They're not 100% accurate every time they come up to hit a bait like that. So.
Oh yeah, and I mean, it's the way they actually having to take the bait in the current. Yeah. Where a lake, they can swim in any direction they want to, but in that river, as soon as they hit in that current, they got to orient themselves to the bait. And I'm sure they do make a lot of daggum miss hits.
Yeah, it does. I missed quite a few.
Yeah, I never even, I guess because I don't fish it that much, it never crossed my mind about that, but I can see that now. That's one good thing about doing. That's one thing about doing this show like this is that we get to cover stuff where I would have never thought of it because I don't fish it every day. That's good knowledge for me to know if I decide to go down there fishing.
Yep, and that's reciprocal. I think I said in one of my previous videos, just you don't even understand or realize how much you're gleaning from other people's channels because we got catfish on the brain or whatever kind of fishing we're doing, and you're soaking all this information in. You don't even remember where you got it from, but I guarantee you I've gotten a ton from this show. I've gotten a ton from Dieter and all them boys, New School and Muddy River and Kayak Catfish. I mean, I thought like he was the man for long, still is. He catches some big fish, but I watched him a lot. And he's the one that sold me on trying to catch a big one from a kayak. But, I mean, we learn a lot from other people, man. More than we actually
pay attention. You got to pay attention, and you gotta learn to apply that. I mean, that's what me and Chris Flores talked about on the show that night, was that some things might not work if you fish them the way that Chris fishes them. But if you take that same technique and tweak it just a little bit, that might be the next thing that you've been looking for to catch them daggum same fish.
That's true.
And them times that you just can't seem to find them fish, who knows? A bass fisherman that's catching them underneath docks might say, hey, look, Throw that bait underneath that dock and see what happens. Bam. You know how to catch your PB flathead doing that.
It's true. And, little things like, again, I know I talk about Dean a lot while he's on here. He's a really good friend of mine and just a neat guy, but he's a wealth of knowledge too. And he doesn't overbearing, he's not overbearing with his knowledge. He'll tell you if you ask him, it's just a good guy. Right. But, he uses these little sissy looking fillet baits sometimes that are literally an inch wide, 3-4 inches long. I'm like, what in the world? Like, what are you doing, man? And that was a couple of years ago. He caught, if you look at that bait, he caught that 70-pounder on. It was a strip of white perch that was 4 inches long and about an inch wide. That was it. He didn't take the big head I threw out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Dieter, if you'll notice, Dieter uses a lot of small baits. Now he does a lot. He does a lot of that too, mainly to make sure he's putting fish in the boat because he's playing to the camera, which is smart. He's using his brain. People want to see fish. They don't care if it's a 1 pound fish or if it's a 50-pound fish. Right. They want to see action on a boat, and he's got it down that pull big baits and pull small baits. And a lot of times them small baits, I'm gonna tell you another time it's perfect for them little bitty baits. And everybody throws big baits during that time, but that's when the mussels start floating.
Yep.
And
he talks about that all the time. He is
downsize your base about the size of them little white mussels. That's a good time to use chicken.
How about it?
That's a good time to use chicken. And if you know where them mussel beds are,
you
go have
to pickle them. Dean actually pickles the mussels. He'll find a bunch of them. He'll pickle them in jars, and he'll use them.
Oh my word!
I never put one on the hook because I wasn't a believer, but he's caught quite a few on it.
Oh, I've seen my daughter because before she started messing with worms and stuff, putting them on her hooks, she'd put them mussels on there. Even though she'd smell like crap time I got her home at the end of the night, she'd put them mussels, and they'd been many a freaking time because we wouldn't touch them. We'd leave them for her. See, many times I went home skunked and her little tail done wore me out that night. Catch them old channels. Them channels love them mussels, man. But
yep, they do, man.
I think there's times because, like I said, I caught that 16-pound channel on a little bitty crappie jig. Now, I've been curious, and maybe you can give me an idea, and I've asked a lot of people, did I actually catch the catfish on the jig, or was the catfish going after the brim that was going after the jig, and just happened to get the jig?
Exactly. Who knows? Who knows, man?
We catch them on trout lines using red seedless grapes. That's another one, Palmetto. I've seen the times where West what my grandpa used for bait. They had a cabin way back up in the Seven Oaks, back up in there. And when the wild muscadines was dropping, that's what he fished with. And you would go back up in this cove because that stuff was everywhere in this cove, in the back of this cove. You'd catch brim, you'd catch carp, you'd catch bass, you would catch just about any kind of fish down there, and their bellies would be loaded full of them daggum old wild grapes. So fish are smart. If you can figure out what they're feeding on, you can narrow down that daggum field real quick.
It's true, man.
I just don't want to sacrifice the big fish to see what's in his gut.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I just don't. Now, you put them in the live well a little bit, and a lot of times they'll spit up what they've been eating on.
Sure will.
You don't have that luxury on that kayak, do you?
Man, I just chunk them. Chunk them. I do like to eat them, but I'm pretty. I eat a few out of the river every now and then because I figure I eat worse things at gas stations from time to time. So.
Just don't eat the gas station sushi. That's what they say.
Man, you don't want none of that, bro. You might not come back from that one.
No.
Lord.
A lot of good information tonight, buddy. And that's why I like getting different perspectives. You mainly like that river part. People on here that's up north or somewhere that fishes shallower rivers, they can use that information, and I appreciate it. And we will bring you in here again. I don't even know what time it is. It's almost 9. Yeah, so it's on.
8:59.
Yeah,
8:59. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me on the show, and I've learned a lot from everybody that fishes the lakes on here. Yeah, I'm looking. That's why I went to the lake yesterday. I can't get on the river in South Carolina. It's all the boat ramps are closed down, so it's a little tough right now. I'm not saying I would do anything illegal, but it's crossed my mind a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, don't get in trouble. It ain't worth it. It's they changed that a lot. When I got back into fishing, I hadn't been down there to the backside of the dam in years. And I drove down through there, and I drove just coming in there down through past Higgin K, and I was just amazed that how much that place had grew up. And then got down there, and they had built all these docks and everything. I see, you could walk all the way up that brick wall right to the backside of the dam. You could cast your baits and hit the daggum dam and drop it right down at the dam. And we use spark plugs as sinkers because you're going to lose it. We've got a drop leader of a light line, you're going to lose it. And I've seen people's rods get hammered as soon as they hit the daggum water. But you lose them. You lose them in the rocks. But, now if we look back, we didn't have the gear to deal with that. You go down there with a big 10, 12-foot rod with heavier line where as soon as he hits it, you can get him up out of them rocks. You could deal with it, but that's the only way. I had a buddy of mine about lost his life right there against that dam. Paddled a canoe up there. Oh, yeah, Lake Wiley Dam on the Catawba side where you fish. He put his canoe out there, and he said, "Come on." I said, "No, I ain't going with you." He went up there close to the backside of the dam, and he was using washing machine motors as his anchors because he knew he was going to lose them. And he put his anchor down, and they released water. We seen him. His canoe started standing up, and he was reaching for his knife, dropped one knife off in the water, and fiddled around and opened his tackle box up, spit his tackle box all over the bottom of the canoe, and it was almost standing just about vertical the time he got his knife out and cut it. When he cut it, he ended up paddling 4 miles back up river to get to us because he was just so disoriented and everything. He hit the bottom of the boat and just rode.
Yeah, that's tough, man. When you anchor in a river, anybody that kayaks out there, I mean, if you haven't experienced it yet, you will. It's probably the most vulnerable you're gonna be. And I actually stood up on end one time with my kayak because I couldn't get it unhung. So I don't have a motor to pull it out. So I had to pull myself back. So I'm pulling myself back, but the rope slipped through my hands when I got about 8 foot of line. And when my boat jerked in that current and it caught anchor again, it stood straight up on end. About lost my rods, and it would have been comical if it wasn't so dangerous. But I thought I was going to be in the drink. But
that's a dangerous place. I've had 2 guys that I don't know them personally, but I've seen some of the gold and stuff that they pull out of that river down there, and both of them has flipped $7,000 dredges upside down in that river.
I believe it. Yeah, I tell anybody, man, if you get hung up out there with an anchor, just forget about it, man. Just cut it.
Cut it.
Just cut it.
It ain't worth the risk. Yeah, it ain't worth the risk. Cut that line and go. And David knew that. I mean, he had it tied off, and he had a knife right there. And when it come up so fast, and he reached for that knife, first thing he done was knock that first one off into the water. And you can't go through that rope, so
No.
And he knew with that way they was running that water, if he went down right there, he would have been gone. Because he was probably 30 foot from the backside of the dam.
Wow. I wish I could get that close to it now.
They're not letting nobody that close no more.
If you get, I forget what it is. There's a sign out there, but it's a $500 fine. But,
so you can put out right there at that round, but you have to go down water.
Yeah, when the water's high enough, the guys that know the river in boats, even if you don't have a jet drive, some of them do it, but the water level's got to be right or you're going to jack your boat up. They go up and around the island that's right in front of the dam, and they come back downstream that way because it's too shallow, that shoal going across there. But yeah, they go right up. But you can't fish up there. They catch you fishing up there. It's $500 fine. But I wonder just how big some of them catfish are. They're lazy laying down there and eating. I dream about it sometimes.
Oh, I know, man. It's just, you would have to be on your toes. You'd have to have your drag locked down, because when they feed and they feel something lock on, I promise you, they right back into rocks, and there's so much debris right there. And it seems like that current is doing this underneath there.
It's always well, you got them coming in from different sides as where they release the gates to. So it's pretty squirrely, but I would almost risk that $500 to go down there one time and just try it. I noticed
anything, not to fish it, but just to scan it with your depth finder.
Yeah, just to scan it. That's all I would do.
Yep. But you know what I'm saying?
My wife would kill me if I got a $500 ticket for fishing at the dam.
I'd kill my. Oh yeah, yeah. But we've done some risky stuff. Give us one good funny story, my friend, before we go.
One good funny story. Let's see, which one can I tell? I wrote. There's so many funny stories, but I'll say to those of you out there, this is a little gross, but Wesley Phil told me the other day that this happened to him, and the shame was lifted from me, and I felt relieved immediately. And I told him that it happened to me too. My PB out of the Catawba was a 56-pound blue, and I lifted this thing up, and when I did, man, my wife asked me why the fish's eyes were so big in the picture. It's because my ring finger slid right up his butthole, and it pretty much grossed me out, man. But I've never forgotten that, and it kind of scarred me a little bit. Just saying, it was. I didn't see that one coming. And,
he didn't either.
Pretty gross. My son, he didn't either. They ain't let me forget it. Yeah, that fish was like. He was serious, buddy. He went back and told his buddies, he's like, man, do not bite nothing. Don't bite nothing with a hook on it or a bob or something bad going on up there.
Them aliens are using probes. They're using probes.
That's it, man. It probed me. Check the temperature. Lord of mercy.
Oh, my word. Oh, that was funny.
That might not have been the funniest thing that ever happened, but it sure was one of the funniest to me.
Oh, that's getting some good laughs tonight, I promise you. And that's what we need right now, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Good laughing to you good right now.
Yeah. Brian, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming into the show. We definitely would do this again. Make sure you keep posting up in videos. We'll keep sharing them and getting your name out there and trying to get your channel built back up. Guys, don't forget there's new faces in here tonight. Make sure you share the love, share the bait. Let's get each other back up. We got to get everybody to 1,000 by this time next year for the YouTube tournament. That's everybody's goal. I've got a set for you. One is put American flag on your boat and your kayak. Put them videos out and get them 1,000. I want everybody to be able to go live next year for the tournament, and I want all y'all that's in here to come. Looking forward. I'm gaining more and more stuff for next year's tournament. Going to be some more rods brought. Mr. Burke's making another rod. It's a very unique rod. He's adding some new stuff to it for next year. Can't wait to see it. So, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and God bless America. We're going to come out the other end of this, and we're going to be able to wet lines again down there in South Carolina, I hope.
That's right.
They'll open it up. But, yeah, I want to get with you. I got to learn where these places are. I got to go take a gold pan down there and check it out.
We'll do it. Holler at me.
I'll sure do it. Brian, we thank you for coming in.
Yeah, man.
Everybody, check him out. Subscribe to him. Share the love with Brian. Flint Hill Catfishing. Good night, everybody.
See you guys. Peace.
Yeah.